because you're talking to the best hair in 12 volt.
I was coming out of high school in 1989 and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I hopped right into selling products. We call it a caveman pitch. Do you want video in your car? Yes. That's how long the conversation went. I think the SEMA show has really brought the whole ecosystem of a vehicle under one roof. We've got a device that programs into the vehicle and it allows you to drive with no keys. I've been a beta tester on this product for the last almost year. You don't have to have that big bulky key in your pocket. I don't carry a purse. I know you might at times, Josh, but I don't carry a purse.
Friday, Saturday night.
Welcome to the Ride in Style Podcast, your turbocharged pit stop for automotive restyling. Buckle up with Jesse and Josh.
Welcome to another episode of the Ride in Style Podcast. Today we've got an incredible guest, Aron Demers of VOXX Electronics. Hi, Aron. How are you?
Good, Jesse. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. And with me as usual is Josh. How you doing today, Josh?
I am live from my backyard because my internet downstairs doesn't work and my 5G in my basement doesn't work real well. So we're out here live, out in the open. So we'll see how good the quality is. But what I do know, though, Jesse, is I was excited to have Aron on because you're talking to the best hair in 12 volt. However, I'm going to ask you right now, Aron, will you be up for the challenge to go for the best hair of aftermarket? Because there's a lot of guys in that mix then.
That's a tough one. I got you to follow. I got Colby to follow. There's some.
No. Colby, first of all, Colby's little curly cues. And this thing's a mop. You're bringing it live with the stream, with a little bit of gel. So tell us the secret before we get into business. Is it gel? Is it foam? Is it a little bit of what's your concoction?
It's a little bit of Patron mixed with gel.
His favorite.
It just oozes out of my body.
Your drink of choice is Patron with a lime and a Coors Light, right?
You got it, sir.
Okay. See?
It's like the first time we've done this.
Yeah, I know. It is the first time. Awesome. Go ahead, Jesse.
Well, why don't we get started with just give us a little bit of background about how you got going in automotive and aftermarket. Tell us about your history and how you got started.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, I was coming out of high school in 1989 and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I hopped right into selling products. So my first job was I was in the industry. I was selling advertising for a magazine back then called Mobile Electronics Specialist, which was a trade magazine. And we had a big brother to that was our competitors called Installation News, and they were the big bad guys on the block. So this gentleman gave me an opportunity to make a life for myself and make sales for him. So I did real well there, got a lot of new advertisers, came on board when I was there, and was really proud of the accomplishments I did there. One of my advertisers was a gentleman by the name of John Phillips, and he was working for a company or running a company back then called Profile Car Stereo. They were one of the first companies that came out with a detachable face radio back then. So he was buying a amplifier brand from a local distributor called Car Stereo Distributors out of Southern California. And he wanted to start his own company in Kansas City, where he was from. And kind of get out of the big corporate world. So I knew his son and I were friends. And he said, hey, do you want to, get up and move to Kansas City and start this company with us? And I said, sure. So, I moved there and it was around 1991. Worked at this small company for a couple of years, got my ears wet from the wholesale side. And then an opportunity came up for the next step. It was a company called Acoustic. Back then, they made amplifiers, crossovers. They're not around anymore, but they were a pretty well-known brand at the time, especially on the independent specialist side. So I worked for them for the next couple years. New regime came in, and we didn't see eye to eye. So I had an opportunity to interview for a job on the West Coast, being a West Coast regional sales manager for a company called VOXX that we probably all remember. And that was 29 years ago, and I haven't left since. So I was a West Coast regional with them for about 10 years. Went to Kenwood for about 8 months until my old boss found me on the back of a milk carton and said, "Hey, we found you. It's time to come back." So he gave me the opportunity to be the vice president of sales and marketing, which was about 20 years ago. So I was commuted from New York for a few years until my family settled down and got out of school. And then we moved to New York. So I was there for about 8 years. And then I took the position of senior vice president of the whole group. So I run the whole P&L of the group, oversight, new products, personnel, engineering, everything top to bottom. And 29 years later, here I am.
And you still have all that hair?
Still have all that hair. It's just grayed a lot, but it's customers like you that allowed my hair to gray out. So I thank you for that, Josh.
You're welcome. Anytime. So what has been, I mean, you look back, that's obviously a long history. You've been in the industry forever. Where have you seen like the challenges, how the industry's kind of like met the challenge head on and kind of passed through it? I know that might be a big question, but maybe you guys personally at VOXX or other things where you thought, man, this is the end of it, and then all of a sudden somehow pulled through.
Yeah, that's I'll rewind a little bit and I'll talk about the industry and a little bit of VOXX. So on the aftermarket side, we, going through the years in my early parts of our career, we upgraded to factory, whether the factory didn't come with a certain technology or a certain feature, we were able to either sell that at through the new car dealer side or at retail, depending on how that product applied and what vehicle year, make, and model you were dealing with. So we always had a leg up on the OEMs. If you look back at CD changers, or even a CD player, we went from a two-shaft radio to a DIN radio to a CD changer, and that wasn't a factory option at the time. So the expediters or restylers, were really kind of hitting it pretty good, high on the hog back in those days before the OEMs caught up to the aftermarket. And mobile video was a good example of that. Back in the late 90s when mobile video came out, that wasn't a factory option, and you were around then, Josh, probably still installing back then. But mobile video was a big boom for the aftermarket world as well as the expediter world, and it was a real easy pitch at the new car dealer level. And as you guys know, at the car dealer, if it's not a preload type of product, you're really relying on either the salesperson on the floor or the F&I manager to make that pitch. So back then it was real easy. We call it a caveman pitch. Do you want video in your car? Yes. That's how long the conversation went. And it was a pretty easy sale. Everybody understood it. Everybody got it. Obviously,
here I thought I was a great salesman, but you're absolutely right. It was like, oh, you have that? Get out of the way. We'll get some.
100%. It was. It wasn't as difficult as it is today. But then, of course, you look at where video is standard in a lot of vehicles. Not all of them. We still have opportunities. You still sell some of my products through that channel, as well as some of the other restylers and expediters through the country. But we were always first before OEM. And really, when you started seeing things change, it was with CarPlay. So if you recall, CarPlay, we always had aux inputs and different devices to get a iPod or an iPhone into a vehicle back then, whether it was like a dice type product or a base type of product to integrate through through USB, you could bring these other features in. But then CarPlay came out, and it all revolved around the center stack. So when CarPlay first came out, there was one company that offered it from an aftermarket, and it was Alpine. Everything else was OEM. And then, slowly you started seeing the other aftermarket comes out with CarPlay, which is across the board right now. But you saw the technologies go to the OEMs first. So it created a lot of different barriers and a lot of different challenges. As new technologies came out, you took away some of the opportunities for our retailers or our restylers to not get those sales. So, what shifted is obviously ADAS has been a huge shift for us. So, backup cameras, there was a big run on backup cameras when that became standard, and there was a big consumer awareness. People wanted those products in their vehicles. You're seeing that today still with blind spot types of product, backup sensors. Some of the OEMs still delete OEM backup sensors, and the customer still wants those because they have a rear view mirror with a camera, and they think that's sufficient. So,
I mean, some of the, man, you're bringing back some crazy memories. One thing, Jesse, I have to tell you this one. This is just good. So I remember, Aaron's company had, pretty much they were the monster, right? What'd you have, 60-70% of the video market, maybe more?
Probably, well, yeah. At one point we were almost, probably had about 80%, I would say, was us. And, Rosen came along behind us and started, nipping at our toes there. But then you had bigger penetration on the OEM side as well. Yeah.
So the easy solve solution there, just buy them out. But anyway, so we only did what was called screens with VCPs, Jesse. So video cassette players. They weren't recorders, so there were no VCRs. But I remember when we got our first DVD player, and I was looking at that thing, and I opened up the box, and it was gold. It was gold colored. It was I remember we paid $716 or something like that thing for this stupid little DVD player, which, today is a joke. But I just remember going, how are we ever going to put a DVD in a vehicle? That's going to be a disaster with it skipping and stuff like that. And nobody would buy it. That thing sat on the shelf for about a year until all of a sudden the market took off to DVD, and Aaron's company really capitalized on that because it was all in one unit and everything like that. But if you think about all those good times of all the mobile video and do you think that is something that VOXX has hung its hat on for a couple of years, is just like finding what the niche is and just going haywire with it for a while?
Yeah, absolutely. And video, when you look back, you can probably take a step back further behind the DVD. When we first launched, we were selling CRT TVs, a tube TV with a VCP, in a console. And then remember, it was either a suburban console or that little minivan console. Yeah,
like a little 5-inch screen.
Yeah, 5-inch tube TV. And then we had this overhead bracket and a screen, and if you wanted IR, you needed all these different components. So inevitably, the only person back then that could sell an overhead video system was the installer, because they knew all the ancillary items the salesperson forgot to order or forgot to sell. So we always relied on the installer to kind of do the check. And when I was doing trainings back then, we'd always say, hey, pull the installer into the sale, because inevitably you're going to screw something up. You've got a big job that's going to roll on a Friday. Somebody's on vacation. The installer wants to get that thing out. Everybody wants to get paid. And if you forgot this, $20 DIN cable, you were screwed and couldn't roll that vehicle. But then you saw the products evolve to, like you said, from there, from a VCP, you went to a DIN size DVD player. But then the world changed when you put it all into an overhead pod, where it was a DVD, IR. Pretty much the only thing you needed to do was give it power and ground, mount it to the ceiling, and you were good to go.
45-minute install. You could make about $600-700, Jesse. Those were the golden years.
Yeah, those were the golden years. So now we've evolved as technologies evolved. We've evolved into a seat back tablet style video system where we put two 10-inch screens, behind the headrest, and it's connected Wi-Fi. It's basically a smart TV for your vehicle, and we can stream in Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever you can get on the Google Play Store. You can stream through your vehicle. So we've come a long ways.
I mean, and it's so great. When I first saw it, I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work. But then, what's crazy is, and nobody thinks it's going to work, but then all of a sudden Mercedes does it, or GM does it, or Chrysler does it. And then it's okay. It's like, we're already ahead of the curve. And then they had to, once they do it, then it's okay.
Yeah. And from the, restyler side and our side as well too, you were going to one SKU. You didn't have to worry about matching the interior, the trim on the headrest, the piping, the stitching, everything that went along with it. And there was a lot of mistakes there made too with ordering and sometimes building the order, quite honestly. But now, the product is so universal that we do have some vehicle specific brackets for those products, but it allows the restyler to stock one SKU. And they can do the install that day. So they get called in the morning and they need a video job, and the restyler has the opening. You can put that product in the same day that's ordered.
Gotcha.
Aaron, what excites you most about the future of VOXX and the industry as a whole? What are you looking forward to the most? What do you see happening?
So, we're really looking forward to our new partners, or our new parent company called Gentex, and Gentex is an OEM supplier of auto dimming mirrors and home link, basically the RF buttons that are in your vehicle that program into your garage door opener. They are a technology company. They see trends coming out 5-10 years before we see them on the aftermarket, because they're attached to the OEM suppliers so much. So we look really forward to partnering with them on some of their future technologies. And a lot of their drive is home automation. So how do we kind of hook our products to home automation and bring the car to the home and connect the full ecosystem of your car and vehicle together? I think that's what I'm most excited about. What that product is today, I can't answer it, but there's a whole lot of smart people in that company. There's more engineers than they are salespeople, and that's always great. So we're looking forward to seeing under the cover a little bit more what those folks are doing and how we can incorporate some of the products and technologies that we sell today.
And I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but I mean, what was the lure of VOXX for Gentex? I was just curious because of the network and the foundation and the history.
Yeah, I mean, you had at VOXX, we had our founder, John Shalom. He's 91 years old. He was he still sat on our board, but time came to sell the company really, and them to monetize their investment. John started the company back in 1965 and brought a lot of new technologies to the market and a lot of new products, and worked hard and got paid handsomely for it. And this was time for him to monetize that investment, and make sure that all the company that was left, the VOXX International, which is our overarching umbrella company, got put into a good place where they're going to nurture that business and continue to take John's legacy and move forward with it, into the next years to come.
That's awesome. Aaron, how do you approach work-life balance? Or is that even possible?
I don't know if there's a balance, but I go to work and then I go. So good question, by the way. So, what I try to do most is when the day's over, and the day's over for me like at 7 o'clock. I have my ride home, which is about 30 minutes, and I can kind of decompress there, get my thoughts together of what happened in the day and what I've got to do the next morning. And then I go home and I get a 30-minute Peloton ride in, and so then I spend the rest of the evening, with my wife and my dog. And we've got a nice house here in Florida. We enjoy being in there. So that's during the week. It's kind of, rinse, wash, and repeat. If I'm not on the road, not a lot changes there. I try not to look at my phone when I get home. I try to put that aside. But then on the weekends, I don't know why. I think it's more work than going to work, but I'll chase the white ball around on Sundays. That's my Sunday, and Saturday I'm usually recovering from Friday night, and then Sunday we start it all over and then get ready for the week. So that's my balance. Vacations, I wish I had more, but how I try to balance vacations is, for me to stay out of connectivity for a week is tough. There's just too much going on. And even when I take that time off, I'm still getting pulled into some work direction, whether it's a phone call or, hey, you got to jump on this grenade for us, or, help us with this issue. I'll try to anchor long weekends. So like on a Memorial Day weekend, I'll try to take a Friday and a Tuesday off to kind of stretch that out a little bit further. So that's about as balanced as I can get. But I feel like it's a seesaw that I'm on one side of the seesaw and the other side isn't coming down. So occasionally I need my wife to put her foot on the other end of the seesaw and get me leveled up.
Oh yeah, I'm there with you. I get it. I do want to ask you what your thoughts of SEMA. What are your thoughts about SEMA overall and SEMA Pro? And I know you're involved, so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So SEMA, the SEMA show. We've been going to the SEMA show for the last 25 years, with the exception of the break in COVID. And back then when we first started going, it was really a car enthusiast show, a lot of car dealers, a lot of expediters, not a lot of traditional retailers. So when you look at our core regular 12-volt mobile electronics aftermarket business back then, it was CES. That was the big show, for electronics. But as CES evolved and the show evolved, it got bigger, obviously, and you had a lot more different technologies that were coming in. The small mom and pop, that was a really tough show for them to go to. Where they timed the show, typically being over a weekend. And it was expensive. The flights started getting expensive. The rooms started getting very expensive. And we saw our customer base about 10 years ago shift from CES to SEMA. And we are in the car business, whether it's, you're doing a wrap, you're doing wheels, you're lifting a car, you're lowering a car, or you're putting electronics in car. We're all car enthusiasts at the end of the day. So I think the SEMA show has really brought the whole ecosystem of a vehicle under one roof, and it allows a lot of different customers to look at different categories that they can all get in. At CES, if you're a mobile electronics store, you're not going to open up a home AV store. I mean, have they done it in the past? Yeah, but typically you didn't see that. What you've seen with the SEMA crowd is you have seen them diversify, both in the regular restyling world as well as the mobile electronics world. You're seeing a lot of the mobile electronics guys starting to get into wraps and getting into other products, because at the end of the day, we've got a customer that's coming into our location jacked up about their car, right? They want to make their car better. They want to learn more about their car. And as we give them different technologies and different product categories, it just allows you to get more exposure to a customer who maybe have coming in for, a truck bed cover, but they didn't know that we can give them a remote start system or a mobile video system or even a wrap. So I think SEMA as a show has really brought a lot of different product categories under one roof and allowed that to be expanded to multiple outlets.
Has that hurt your business though? I mean, or has it helped your business where maybe people have picked up some stuff?
Well, it's helped and hurt in some ways. Like if you look at the expediters, we used to call them expediters, and now we got expediters and restylers, and that's what Josh and a lot of the SEMA Pro members are. They're a lot more diversified than they were in the past. You look at our traditional 12-volt retailer, And they're starting to get to the other side. What we've seen on the expediter side, though, as electronics have gotten a little bit more robust in a vehicle, we lost some of that attention in the expediter world because, wraps, tinting, and all the different products and services that you guys offer, you can only do so much in a day. And then the other part of it, we obviously have labor force issues, whether it's in the restyler world or whether it's in the traditional mobile electronics world. We need people to put in our products at the end of the day. And products that are complex, take a long time to put in, aren't the most profitable products, versus the diversification and some of the new tools that you have from some of the manufacturers that support the SEMA network.
What about Pro? What made you decide, hey, I want to jump in with Pro? And I know you do a lot for Pro, especially on the membership side. So thank you for that. But where do you see that going? Why did you do it, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I thank individuals like yourself, like Jared Cohen. I didn't know much about SEMA Pro really till I started understanding. Jared and I are good friends, and he'd always have this SEMA Pro badge on. I'm like, well, what's that all about? And then he finally explained it to me, and as our business was evolving, is I wanted to be able to understand what challenges. Again, we had expediters, restylers. I put them in one of the same buckets at the end of the day, whether you want to call them an expediter or a restyler. An expediter, in my mind, the old days, these were guys that put in electronics. Restylers were guys that did other things. They did the wraps, tint, they lifted a vehicle, whatever they did. But those came together. So, as those wholesale businesses came together, I wanted to be more in touch with not only our customers, but other suppliers that are supplying the network, and understanding what challenges they run into, how they overcome those challenges, and what they need to help their customers grow their business. And they're very much like some of the challenges that we deal with on the mobile electronics aftermarket side. So that was really the motivation there, is just to be more in sync with our customers and the products our customers sell. And to help where we can as well too. Prior to me coming on to on the SEMA Pro committee, I was on another board, the Vehicle Technology Board for the CTA, which I still am today. But I learned a lot there. I was the chair of that committee for 3.5 years. I had to fill in a gap there for 1.5 years for somebody. But I really took that experience and I brought it over to SEMA Pro, and I feel like I've helped and maybe put a different lens on the committees and what you guys were looking at before versus what we're looking at now. So I think it was a good blend between, you had somebody from the mobile electronics world coming into a restyler world, and I think it was a good marriage between the two
I agree.
organizations.
No, it's been great. You've done a great job, and just bringing that different perspective, the professionalism, maybe the larger manufacturer versus a smaller manufacturer, but also what we're dealing with. You've been on the road as a salesperson, you're calling on us for in the past, so what we deal with, what our challenges are, but you also know what the industry's challenges are. So maybe go right into that. Where do you see the future? What are you seeing? I mean, obviously we got a little bit right now. Whoever's watching this, we're dealing with some tariffs. We're dealing with this. So manufacturing is tough. Everybody's wondering how that's going to happen. But are you a glass half full or glass half empty guy?
I think I'm a halfway glass guy, a half full guy. So yeah, I think look, I mean, we've got a lot of challenges, with what we're dealing with right now. What we've been dealing with, really, if you look back from the first set of tariffs prior to COVID, then COVID, and now it's like it's rinse and repeat again all over. So, unfortunately, with a lot of the turmoil that some of it's created by our own government, some of it's created by created by the world, right? When COVID broke out, nobody saw that coming, and it took some of the creative juices away, from the business, because we're just concentrating on supply chain and pricing and trying to minimize pricing. But we still see a lot of good new technology on the horizon. We're working on one technology today. We've been working on it for a few years, but it's phone as a key. And some of you that may have a Tesla, you're familiar with that. You use your phone, and you have a backup with an NFC reader that you can give to a valet, or in the event your phone doesn't work, or you need to give the car to somebody else, you don't need to give them your phone, obviously. So we're working on a technology that's just like that. So it basically, we've got a device that programs into the vehicle. You've got to use a programmer. You put our electronic device that works via Bluetooth to the phone from a communication standpoint. It goes into a programmer, it learns the protocol of that key fob. And then you take the programmer, you plug it into an OBD port, and it basically takes our piece of electronics and learns it in like a third key into your vehicle if you're programming a replacement key or another OEM key. And it allows you to drive with no keys. I've been a beta tester on this product for the last almost year. And to leave your key at home for the first week was very troublesome. Like, this thing better work or I'm going to be screwed. But you had to go down the road and drink the Kool-Aid, and I did that. And it's really empowering when you don't have to have that big bulky key in your pocket. I don't carry a purse. I know you might at times, Josh, but I don't carry a purse.
Saturday night.
But not having that bulky key fob in your pocket is nice. And with that product as well, you don't need to launch the app every time to lock it and unlock it. The app runs in the background. You get to the vehicle. It's got to work on a push to start vehicle, obviously not a keyed ignition, but you open the door handle just like you would when the key fob's in your pocket. The product knows whether the phone is inside the vehicle or outside the vehicle from a like a geofencing standpoint, if you want to call it that. So you can't mistakenly start the car outside of the vehicle, or you've got to have that phone in the vehicle. And then kind of the really the cool part of that, outside of what it already does, is I can also share that key. So if I wanted you to, have access to my vehicle, I don't know why I would do that, but for some reason, if I wanted you to have access to my vehicle and my house and my dog and my bank account and everything, I could send you electronically this key through SMS text or an email, and you could have access to my vehicle on the time, dates, that I specify that you're the user for that. So if you think of Turo applications, rental applications, fleet applications where you only want your drivers to drive at this time between, this day and this time, and not joyride on the weekend, you're or them. So I think you get the gist of what we're doing there, but we think there's a lot of different applications on that, and we're launching that product over the summer. So we're looking forward to that.
I need it because, Jesse, let me tell you how first world problems I got. It's like I wake up, I don't keep my key because, like Aaron said, it's in your pocket. I'm gonna lose it. I just keep it in the car all the time. But I gotta wake up. I gotta open an app. I gotta unlock my doors, and then I only have like 45 seconds to get out there. And I mean, that's horrible. You just be able to walk up is so much easier. So that's how spoiled we all are. But I love it. But that's the kind of stuff that sells. Somebody will walk into my store and pay $500 for that, no problem.
Yeah, and what we found as a byproduct of that product, Josh, is we're testing it right now and doing validations, but on certain vehicles right now we're looking at Toyotas, but we can take over the factory starter with that product, and I can add long range RF to that device. So if the customer wants long range remote start after the factory, not only can I give them e-key access, but I can plug in a two-way Viper remote or a one-button remote if that's what the customer wants, and give that customer extended range on top of it.
Nice. Just to hear you say Viper just cracks me up. But that's long. That's an old VOXX joke, Jesse. That some people will get it. But no, that's awesome. That's we're looking forward to that. I mean, listen, what I love about the industry, and especially guys like VOXX, and especially now with Gentex, right? Like you said, so many engineers. There's so many little products out there that it has always kept them. I mean, when AudioVox started, right, it was radios. Everybody knew AudioVox radios, and it's just evolved over the years. But behind the scenes, working, got a great team. Thank you very much for being on. And Jesse always has a final question. And this one, I want you to think, before you answer it, Aaron, I want you to think very carefully about the information you're about to give out.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just want to ask Aaron, where can people follow you or learn more about what you're doing? You know, how do people get a hold of you if they have questions? What website you want to share, or social media, or contact information?
Yeah, what app can they subscribe to watch you do whatever?
Well, I'm not a social media guy, so you won't find me. But you can obviously find us at VOXXelectronics.com. We do have our Facebook page for VOXX Electronics, as well as Viper and DirectTech, which is a closed network for our installers that can get onto Facebook and share any issues that they're running into in the field with installations, or any questions, concerns, and we monitor those pages pretty much all the time. So that would be the best way to find us.
Awesome.
All right. Well, hey, we have an election coming up for select committee, and I know both of you are actually candidates. So looking forward to that. I hope you both can get on and do a lot of stuff. But if you guys do, I want you to come up with a new task force so that we can hand out SEMA Pro Hair of the Year, and then honorary Aaron will be #1. I love it.
But then you and I are judges at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And Colby. Those curly hair, come on, it's a wig. It's a wig.
And there you have it, another high-octane episode of the Ride in Style podcast, revved up and ready to go. Your hosts, Jesse Stoddard and Josh Poulson, shifted your automotive game into overdrive. If you're hungry for more insights, trends, and game-changing interviews from the automotive restyling universe, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a glowing review. We'd also love for you to share this podcast with your gearheads, installers, and auto lovers network. Because remember, knowledge is power, but shared knowledge turbocharges the whole industry. For more expert resources to supercharge your business, cruise on over to autostylemarketing.com, your one-stop shop for everything automotive marketing. Until next time, keep those wheels spinning and your passion ignited. Thank you for riding in style with us. See you on the next lap.